I think this one might be too short to put you to sleep. Hi everybody and welcome to another exciting edition of Boring JavaScript. I'm your host, the Virtuoid, aka Mike Smith, and today we're going to be looking at the String.charAt method, or as it's more commonly called, the char_at method. Now, its entire purpose in life is to be able to return a single character from anywhere within a string as long as you specify an index that is within that string. And that's it. Want to see how it works? Let's get started. So the char_at method will, like I said, return a character within a string. So the first thing you'll need is a string. I have my string right here. It's my cat's name, Fluffy. Here is the char_at method itself. And again, it's working off of a string, so I'm calling it from the string itself. So any string that you have within JavaScript, the char_at function is always available to you. It takes one argument, and that argument is the index number of the character to grab. And in this particular case, I want to grab index number 2. And then that's going to go into the string, find index number 2, and return that single character from index number 2. And then I'm just going to print out the character right here. In this case, I'm saying the third character, my cat's name is whatever the third character variable happens to be. Now, just to kind of clarify things to make sure you understand here, I noticed I am saying index number 2 here, but I'm calling it the third character. Now, why is that? Because in JavaScript, for both strings and arrays, index numbers always start at number 0. So if you had an array, for example, the first element within the array is index number 0. Same thing for strings. If you have a string here, the first character is index number 0. So index 0 is the capital F. Index number 1 is the letter L, and index number 2 is the letter U. So index number 2 represents the third character. Index number 0 represents the first character. So that's why I call the variable third character, and that's why I'm saying it's the third character, and my cat's name is whatever it happens to be. So second index, that's 0 is the F, 1 is the L, and 2 is the U. So I should expect this output to be the letter U. Let's find out if that happens. Let's flip over to Node and type in node char_at. And sure enough, yep, the third character of my cat's name is U. And that's it for char_at. All you have to supply to it is an index number within your string, and it will return that particular character. There's really nothing else for you to see. So I thought for this next section of the video, let's give it a bunch of wild variables. Let's take the variables that are out of range, or let's pass it a string or even an object, and let's see what happens. All of that will be next. So what happens if we pass illegal values as the argument to char_at? Well, let's take a look at that. Here's my original char_at, and it's going to work like it has before. It's going to pass the number 2. So we do know for a fact that we always have to pass numbers because that's how index numbers are represented inside JavaScript. So what's going to happen if we don't pass any argument in there? What happens if we pass an argument that is less than 0? Because as you remember, 0 is the beginning index. What happens if we pass a number that is greater than the number of characters within the string itself? What happens if we pass a string that happens to represent a number that can be type coerced? Will JavaScript do a type coercion for us, or will it just kick it out? How about a regular old string that can't be type coerced into something? How about true or false? Both of those might be able to be type coerced. So will we get a 1 for true and a 0 for false? I don't know. How about an object? What will happen at that point? So what's going to happen here? Well, let's just go ahead and take a look at it and find out. Let's flip back over to Node, and let's go into node char_at. And of course, I got my third character's name is U, which is correct. So what happens here? If we don't pass an argument, it defaults to the number 0. So of course 0 is the first character, so in this case the capital F. If you pass a number that happens to be out of range, char_at's going to return a blank string for you because it is a legal number, but it's out of range, so it passes everything as completely blank. If the string is passed, it passes, in this case, the U, because we passed the number 2 into the string. So we do now know that it will do some sort of type coercion. So it saw the number 2 there within a string that said, I think you actually meant the number 2 as a number, so we'll call it that and just go from there. A complete and total wipeout of a string basically becomes an invalid character, an invalid argument, so it defaults to the number 0. True became the letter L, which happens to be the second character, or index number 1, so we do know that did the type coercion on the Boolean. The false came out is, of course, 0. It gets type coercion, so that would be the first index. An object also came out to be F, which again, object is an invalid argument, so it returned the number 0. So basically what it looks like here for character@, is that if it has an invalid argument within as the argument, it will return the number 0, or the first index of the string. If it can be type coerced into a number, then it will return that index unless that number happens to be out of range, either less than 0 or greater than the number of characters -1. Then it will return a completely blank string. So bottom line here is that make sure that you're passing numbers into character@, and make sure that those numbers are within the range of the string. If you do those kind of things, you'll never go wrong. Do anything outside of that, you may get some funky numbers here. So this is what happens if you happen to pass invalid arguments into the character@. And that's all there is to String.charAt. Really. I hope you enjoyed our video. Hope I didn't bore you to death. Please view all of our videos at www.boringjavascript.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, or check out everything we have at www.thevirtualoid.com. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you later.